Prejudice, privilege, and politics. When it's time to talk about those three things, some people automatically shut down.
If we don't talk about it, it doesn't give us a chance to process it because we
Right.
are going to get it right a lot of times. We are going to get it wrong a lot of times.
But really all it is just an acknowledgement of saying, hey, I'm born a certain way that creates this lens through which I'm going to see everything. And there's probably a lot of things in the world I'm not even going to see because of this privilege that I was born into, by the color of my skin.
We have these prejudices against each other based off of really nonsensical things. We're going to be honest about it, because this right here has nothing to do with anything. This here is melanin. That's it.
You know what? I got my truth. You got your truth. There's right truth, left truth, but there is a truth that is God's truth.
I've been blessed to have a diverse collection of friends, different backgrounds, races, ages, stages of life, and we've been talking about what's going on in our world. These conversations have been so helpful to us, we decided to record and share them, because it's easy to find content that suggests that anyone who thinks differently than you is your enemy. But we believe that God has made us brothers in one great big family, and our different perspectives have a place of agreement that can draw us closer rather than split us apart.
I think that this conversation will help to draw us closer, but it'll also help for other people to have unity too. And it's interesting that what's been going on seems to intersect in three places that people sometimes are reluctant to talk about. I think it was Bernie who called them the three Ps. And those three places are prejudice, privilege, which is a huge word right now, and politics. And you guys know from being in various church families or social circles or what have you, when it's time to talk about those three things, some people automatically shut down because we have different thoughts. We have different opinions and things hit us in different ways because we come from different walks of life, yet we call ourselves family. And Bernie, could you share with us a little bit about your journey recently in trying to have conversations about these things?
Sure. Well, this all started for me sometime in April. And I was, going to do a podcast kind of thing and trying to, re-stir the gifts of God in me and put it out there where I could share what was going on in the world. COVID-19 for me was actually a good thing because it was kind of like the Elijah in the cave thing. It was kind of the be still and know that I'm God. And as I began to really pray and seek God, I heard, some things I just really hadn't heard before. I came upon a verse in Ephesians that I just honestly just couldn't, say that I'd ever read before. It was talking about, I'll just kind of read a little blip for you. It says, we were once in darkness, but now we are light in the Lord. So walk as children of light. And then it goes on a couple verses. It says, and don't have any fellowship with works of darkness, but rather expose them. Man, it's time to expose the darkness. And then on that Memorial Day, May the 25th, my whole world was shaken, and I think all of our worlds were challenged. And we saw a murder take place on television. That Memorial Day, that May 25th, for me, and I believe for many others, will go down as a Memorial Day that we are never going to forget. And George Floyd became a memory. And we have been memorializing his death. And we have been talking about things we've been afraid to talk about. And that's why I think we're doing this, to expose works of darkness and to bring people to the light. Well, I found in my studies, you know what? I got my truth. You got your truth. There's right truth, left truth. And, but there is a truth that is God's truth. And I found in Acts chapter 10 is that story of their prejudice in their day and their era, it was amazing. Acts chapter 10, Cornelius is a devout man. He's a centurion of the Italian regiment. And, you know, he's a devout man. He prays, he gives to the poor. He's a good man. He loves God. And as he's on his rooftop praying, he falls into a trance and he sees, you know, that's when he saw the vision come down from heaven with the sheets and all the different animals on it. And, you know, God tells him, he says, kill and eat. Peter says, oh, no, not me. I'm better than that. I don't do that. I'm not like those other people that could just do that. I'm better than that. And God took, it was amazing. I never saw this before. God took him 3 times and 3 hours to convince Peter that he should kill and eat. And he told Peter, don't ever call unclean. Don't ever call common. Don't ever call less than what I call clean, what I call a miracle. Don't ever call that unclean or common again. And the people found out about it, man. They held him to an account. He said these words, I'm going to read these words of prejudice. He says, you know how unlawful it is for a Jewish man to keep company with or go to one of another nation. But God has shown me that I should not call any man common or unclean. Man, those things just burned in my heart. I saw the prejudice. I saw my prejudice. You know, I saw the things in me that, you know, lean towards those givings because that's how I've been taught. That's how you've been taught. We have been, our prejudices are taught. And I remembered the scripture, you know, that said, you know, God is no respecter of persons. And yet, I'm going to be honest with you, I couldn't find it. Well, the reason I couldn't find it is I've been in the New King James for so long, and I put my King James Bible away, and that phrase is in the King James, that God is no respecter of persons. But in the New King James, it's said this way, in verse 34. So Peter opened his mouth and he said, in truth, I perceive God shows no partiality. Man, when I saw that partiality, I thought, man, look at all the prejudice in our world today. Look at all the partiality, all the way that, you know, that we cling to people that look like us. That's who we hang with. That's who our friends are. That's who, you know, we call family. You know, we may go to multicultural churches, but who do we hang with? Who do our kids play with? Who do we eat with? So I happen to have a Spirit-filled Life Bible. So, you know, that's the anointed one. That's the partiality I have towards the Bible. But it says this about that verse 34, partiality. Interesting, it says, a receiver of a face. And I immediately went to a mask. You know, it's something we put on. I have put on who I am. My dad put it on me. I have put it on my kids. It's something that your prejudices, your partialities are learned. And we have to put it on like a mask. So the people that have a mask like yours, yeah, we're, you know, man, we're tight. But people look like somebody else. They don't look like you. They don't live where you live. They weren't brought up like you were brought up. No, that's not who we hang with. It also says this, one who takes sides, showing favoritism, exhibiting bias, showing discrimination, showing partiality, treating one person better than another. Man, my heart just broke because you know what? That's the country we live in today. Full of prejudice. Putting on the faces, you know, that we want people to see instead of who are we really.